This is my audience today for my speech. So we're here today to talk about hand washing. Did you know every time a toilet is flushed with the lid up, a fine mist of bacteria is spread to an area of 6 square meters? And 90% of the countertop in a public bathroom is full of E. coli and staph bacteria? The importance of hand washing is preached to us since we were very, very little. But only 95% of people claim to practice any form of proper hand hygiene. And sadly enough, researchers say that only about 67% of people truly practice proper hand washing. So why is the number so low? Researchers believe the number is so low because people simply don't understand what proper hand hygiene is. They don't understand the importance of it. They don't understand why they should be doing it, when they should be doing it, or even how they should be doing it properly. So those are the things we're going to talk about today. People know they should practice good hand hygiene, they just don't understand why or how. So I'm going to discuss the following: the importance of hand hygiene, when you should be doing it, the common mistakes that are done during hand hygiene, and I'm also going to give you a quick demo on the proper way to do it. So let's talk about why it's so important. I'm going to give you a few statistics. 80% of communicable diseases are transferred by touch. Now, touch means the touching of foods as well as touching of your own eyes, nose, and mouth. Not necessarily person-to-person contact. It's more, touching something and then touching your mouth and things like that. Now, touching contaminated foods can cause the spread of foodborne illnesses like E. coli, salmonella, and other diarrheal infections. I know it's been in the news lately with restaurants like Chipotle and different restaurants that have had these issues because their employees are not washing their hands properly, right? And so, just a side note, the World Health Organization states that diarrhea remains the second most common cause of childhood death in the world, in the entire world. And researchers state that proper hand washing can reduce diarrheal infection by 40%. So when you think about that, if we would wash our hands, we can, the amount of childhood ailment in the world and the second leading cause of death in children could be reduced by 40%. That's amazing, amazing. So also, touching your face with contaminated hands can cause common illnesses like pneumonia, the common cold, and flu. And researchers actually state that pneumonia is the #1 leading cause of childhood death in the world. And they also state, the Center for Disease Control states that if we wash our hands properly, we could reduce that number by 20%. So again, if we just washed our hands, 20% of the pneumonia vaccine or pneumonia virus and flu and all of that could be wiped away if we would only wash our hands. So when is hand washing needed? Okay, I'm going to give you a quick list. This is just some of the times that it's needed, okay? Obviously when they look dirty, dirt on your hands, you want to wash them, right? Preparing food and eating food, you want to wash your hands before you make food or eat it. Before and after caring for someone who's sick. I'm a nurse. I wash my hands probably 80 times a day. Before and after every patient that I touch, we wash our hands or we use hand gel, whatnot. We perform hand hygiene. That's a standard of care in my profession. Before and after treating any wound, again, standard of care in my profession. Before and after blowing your nose, coughing, or sneezing. You don't want to blow your nose and then touch someone. Obviously, you want to try to wash your hands before you go about your day. And then after using the toilet, after changing a baby's diaper or helping an elderly person toilet themselves or whatnot, you want to wash your hands after you do all that. After touching an animal or animal waste, so after cleaning up after your cat or dog or just spending a little bit of puppy time, you really should be washing your hands after that before you do anything else. Handling the garbage, after you take your garbage out, wash your hands. And then touching common surfaces like doorknobs, money. Money is the dirtiest thing in the world. Shopping carts, the new thing is they have the wipes that you wipe the shopping carts, but shopping carts are so dirty. So a couple more statistics for you. Only 20% of people wash their hands before preparing food in their own home. Restaurant people are supposed to wash their hands. It's a part of their standard of practice in their profession. I don't know how much of that goes on, but I do know that the research shows that only 20% of people wash their hands in their own home before preparing food for their family. The most startling statistic I have for you today is that less than 75% of women actually wash their hands after they use the restroom. Less than 75% of women. So does that number go up or down with men? It actually goes down. Only about 50% or less than 50% of men wash their hands after using the restroom. That explains why the line's always longer in the women's restroom than in the men's, right? Because they don't wash their hands. Anyway, let's talk about common mistakes. So the number one mistake is time. People don't spend enough time washing their hands. So the average or the recommended time is actually 15 seconds. 15 seconds, to put that in perspective for you, is actually to sing your ABCs at a moderate rate once. Okay, so minimum of 15 seconds or ABCs once. The recommended is actually 30 seconds or your ABCs twice. So for every 15 seconds that's spent, 10 times the amount of bacteria is removed from your fingers. Sadly, the average person only spends about 10 seconds washing their hands. So time is the number one mistake. Second mistake is ignoring the fingertips and the nails. So most of the bacteria is actually on your fingertips and your nails. After using the restroom, the amount of bacteria in your fingertip is increased by 10 times the amount. So people tend to not pay attention to that. They wash their palms of their hands and go on their way. So second mistake is avoiding the fingertips. Thirdly, the bacteria is highest in your dominant hand. Unfortunately, right-handed people tend to focus on their left hand when washing and left hand vice versa on their right hand. So people are not washing their hands properly because they're avoiding the dominant hand, that's the one you're supposed to focus on more. And lastly is people don't dry their hands. Wet hands are 1,000 times more likely to spread bacteria than dry hands. People don't dry their hands. They wash their hands and walk out. And if they do dry their hands, they dry their hands with a towel on a towel rack in their bathroom, and that towel harbors bacteria. So you're actually supposed to dry your hands with a disposable paper towel rather than a towel hanging on the towel rack. So lastly, I'd like to give you a quick tutorial on how you should wash your hands. So the first thing is you're going to go ahead and turn the water on. You're going to wet your hands with warm water. You're going to put about a quarter-size soap on your wet hands, and you're going to start rubbing nice and vigorously, tops of your hands, in between your fingers, your thumbs. You want to get the fingertips. We talked about that. And the nails. A good trick to that is to rub the palms of your hands with your fingertips like this vigorously. You want to make sure you're getting in between your fingers, nice and quick, for about 30 seconds. Like I said, 30 seconds seems like a long time, but it's really not. That right there was about 30 seconds. Then you're going to rinse your hands really, really well. Grab your paper towel. Your water's still on. I know we're in a drought, but the water's still on. Remember that. You're going to dry your hands with the paper towel. And when you're done, you're going to take your paper towel and turn your water off. Okay? And the reason for that is that faucet is dirty. Everybody's touching that faucet with their dirty hands. The last thing you want to do is practice wonderful hand hygiene that we just did and then touch the faucet barehanded. So you want to use that towel to turn the faucet off. Okay? So that's the tutorial. So in conclusion, statistics show although people claim that they're washing their hands, they're really not. And they're not doing so because they just don't understand how to do it, when to do it, why to do it, and what to avoid while doing it. So I hope that this speech has kind of cleared a little bit of that up for you. The transmission of many, many ailments could be reduced if we only practice the good hand hygiene that I talked about in this speech today. So I just want to encourage everybody to practice the good hand hygiene. So I'd like to leave you with one last thought. It's kind of a catchy one. Wash your hands and say your prayers, because Jesus and germs are everywhere. Thank you for your time.